Hey, welcome to Texas Football Talk. I'm your host, Jeremy Lockaby, once again joined by my brother Clint in this episode, talking the 2021 transfer ins. How you doing, brother?
Hey, pretty good, man. You know, it's a whirlwind tour with the transfer portal. Teams really have an opportunity to fill the spots of need, create depth, and competition as well. And I think that's what we've needed on the 40 acres for a while. Majority of these guys we're going to talk about come from championship level programs. You're talking about places like Notre Dame, LSU, Alabama, that create championship level competition. So for these guys to leave their locations of which they were at to come play for the University of Texas is big time. I'll let you kind of start off with the first group of defenders, and then we'll kind of go through there, Jeremy.
All right, so our first guy we're going to talk about is Devin Richardson. He's a linebacker, 6'3", 215 pounds. Originally went to school in Keilan High School, right outside of Houston, and attended New Mexico State. Number 1,631 in the country as he came out of high school. As far as rank as outside linebacker, he was number 109. This kid's looked at as a late bloomer. Arrived in New Mexico State, played very, very well as a freshman. Has multiple years of eligibility left for the University of Texas, so provides depth to that linebacker core. Again, we talked about Marvin Ovie and bringing him coming back, David Benda, him coming back. But we know that linebacker core was short of bodies. So this is one of those kids they brought in to kind of taking those spots.
Yeah, I think they were trying to obviously add depth at the linebackers position when getting Devin Richardson. But also as we go through these transfer portals is really trying to find a replacement for Joseph Asai. Who obviously went on to the NFL. And I think these guys are multifaceted. I think they can play different positions. We'll kind of see what happens with Pete Kwiatkowski, in the different fronts he's going to run as far as, obviously the defensive line and the linebackers and how his defensive ends are going to line up, either inside or outside the tackles. But like you said, Devin Richardson out of New Mexico has 3 years of availability still left for the University of Texas. Really exploded on the scene with the Aggies, tallying 69 tackles. And 2 sacks and 3 forced fumbles, man. So he is a guy that gets after, obviously, the passer and is able to knock the ball out, which I know that which PK is really looking for in his defense, man, is turnovers. Next guy, it would be Ben Davis. Kind of want to go through his size, where he's from, so on and so forth, and we'll go.
Absolutely. So Ben Davis is a linebacker, 6'4", 237 pounds from Gordo, Alabama. He was the number 1 inside linebacker coming out of his class. Went to the University of Alabama, 10th overall national guy from the 247 composite index. I look at this guy, man, it's his contract year. Like, to be the 10th best player in the country coming out of high school, there wasn't a whole lot of production at Alabama. But again, he's following a coaching staff that he knows to the University of Texas. Like I said, I kind of like it as a contract year. The transfer portal has become free agency for college football. And so if a guy's not doing well at a university or not finding time at a university, has an opportunity to go somewhere else to get that playing time, to display his skills for the next level, that's what a guy like Ben Davis is doing. Again, a 9'9" composite guy, comes to Texas with a hell of a lot of potential. We'll see if this coaching staff can get it out of him. That's what we know about Ben Davis.
Yeah, and he's one of 3 guys that the coaching staff really went after at this position. I think it goes back to trying to figure out who's going to play that strong side defensive end, who's going to play the rush end, and so on and so forth. So you look at it, there, believe it or not, there's not a lot of when you're talking about size between really Richardson to Oghoufo to Thornton and Davis. There's not a lot of size difference. So both of them, most of them are 6'3", 6'4". The heaviest being Ray Thornton is 242 pounds, and the lightest being obviously Oghoufo at really 215 pounds. As far as linebackers go, but this is going to create competition. This is a competition guy, man. Like you said, a majority, some of these transfers, I'd say majority of these transfers, if you're looking at, Darion Dunn, or if you're looking at Ray Thornton, or if you're looking at Ben Davis, just have 1 year of eligibility left. So like you said, it's a contract year. It gives them opportunity to come to another place, start fresh. Get into a different scheme that they may think that they may be better at to kind of flash where they are. But obviously this is going to be competition. He's a competition with LSU linebacker transfer Ray Thornton and Notre Dame linebacker Ovie Oghoufo, who also entered into the transfer portal. And that, like you said, he was the number 1 inside linebacker coming out of, high school. So we'll kind of see where he goes, man. See if he is able to play to that 5-star capability. Next is Ray Thornton. Your thoughts on Ray Thornton?
Yeah, so Ray Thornton, again, coming out of a program at LSU, out of the SEC, has a national championship with that team. 6'3", 242 pounds. He's from my neck of the woods originally. He went to school at Keilan Shoemaker, right down the road from me. Was the 205th best player in the country, the number 15 weak side defensive end. So we talking about positioning. So we talked about 3 guys so far. I have Devin Richardson and Ben Davis as more of your middle linebacker. David Benda types. I have Ray Thornton as a jack. I truly believe he's going to compete with Jacoby Jones for that, replacing Joe Osai's spot and we saw that in the spring game. This is one of the kids who came in like Darion Dunn in January, went through spring, more of a jack, hand in the ground, weak side defensive end, but does have versatility to drop back to the next level if need to. But again, it's his 6th year. He's like a grandpa for college football. And he's on up there. So like you said, brings leadership, a proven winner from the area, coming back to Texas to try to produce for the Longhorns.
Again, he's coming from a great school, LSU. Obviously, they do really well at the linebacker position, the secondary position, when recruiting players. And if you look at it, obviously he's been through a couple of schemes with David Aranda. His first couple of years there, he was playing outside linebacker, and then with the changes in defensive scheme, he actually went to go play middle linebacker for the last couple of years. So there is position versatility with Ray Thornton. Again, when you look at Pete Kwiatkowski's defense, he made lineup, on the edge. He made lineup inside. He might line up, back a little bit as a linebacker. 2-point stands, 3-point stands, standing up. There's a lot of really position. When you're looking at these guys, a lot of position versatility between all of them. And then that leaves us obviously with Notre Dame transfer, Ovie Oghoufo. Your thoughts on him, man?
So out of Farmington, Michigan, 6'3", 215 pounds. Went to school at Notre Dame coming out of high school. So again, another program that's competing for national championships, have been in the playoffs. Was the 545th best player in the country, number 35 outside linebacker. This guy reminds me body type of DeMarvion Overshown. He came to Notre Dame as a wide receiver recruit. Was 6'3", 190 pounds when he got there. He's since put on 25 pounds of muscle. But I think he could play safety. I think he could play outside linebacker. You could see him with his hand in the ground. Kind of reminds me of Brendan Schooler a little bit, who we got in the transfer portal last year from the University of Oregon, who started out as a safety. And when he came to Texas, we moved him to receiver, and now I've since moved him back to the defensive side of the ball. So just another kid who comes from a winning program, who is in his later years of eligibility, trying to get some playing time. Again, I could see him with his hand in the ground. I can see him at second level, and I can also see him covering running backs as well. That's what I know about Ovie Oghoufo.
Yeah, I've seen that on your notes, man. You said a similar skill set to Brendan Schooler, who obviously came from Oregon as a safety and then transferred to Arizona, and then wound up coming to University of Texas at wide receiver, and now back in that secondary room, which is again, it comes back to position flexibility. Where can we put the best 11 guys on the field to obviously get the best defense out there? What he was actually expected, you go back and read some of these Notre Dame notes, man, that he was expected to play a lot of snaps this year for Notre Dame. Obviously, Terry Joseph came from Notre Dame to Texas as a defensive on the defensive staff. Had a good relationship with him. He decided he needed a new place to start. Obviously, the academics at Notre Dame were just as good as the academics at Texas, so he's not missing out too much from there. But really, really excited about kind of seeing where he goes as well. And then obviously the Darion Dunn, man, cornerback, 6'1", 193 pounds out of Oakdale, Louisiana. Came to us from McNeese State. Biggest thing with him, man, he's got experience. He's got a lot of experience. He has experience playing against Power 5 cornerbacks. Your thoughts, man, on Darion Dunn?
No, like you said, it's, again, one of these kids who came in January, was able to go through spring ball. We got an opportunity to see him in the spring game. Not a whole lot of experience back there, but the loss of Jalen Green in the transfer portal, the loss of help me out, the young man who went to Georgia Tech, Watson going to Georgia Tech. A whole lot of movement at this position coming in and out of the program recently. So aside from, Jameson, there's not a whole lot, and Anthony Cook, there's not a whole lot of experience back there. Yes, Keaton Crawford's a young man who's coming on and playing well. I know there's other young men who are doing the same. Chris Adamora got a lot of playing time and played well last year at this position. But again, 6'1", 193 pounds, so a bigger corner. very productive at his time at McNeese State, and going to add some depth to this cornerback room and to the secondary.
Yeah, he appeared in 29 games at McNeese State, making 23 starts, 83 tackles. Big time, man. 7 interceptions and 20 pass breakups. I think he was a Senior Bowl top 250, if I'm not mistaken. So the Senior Bowl was definitely looking at him. I can tell you that they are looking at him as an NFL quarterback. Obviously, he has the length and the size to be able to do that. And so hopefully he just brings that extra competition. You know, right now you do have some experience in Thompson and Jameson playing those cornerback positions, but at the same time, it's nice to have some competition in the room, kind of see where this nickelback goes and so on and so forth. On to the offensive guys, man, who I'm really, really, really excited about. Obviously, Xavier Worthy, not so much transfer come from another school, but he was committed to Michigan. He was able to get out of his LOI, transfer to University of Texas. This was a kid that Sarkisian was going after at Alabama, man. He knows exactly what he can bring to his team. He knows exactly as a wide receiver what he can do for his offense. Big time guy, man, 61th ranked overall player nationally, number 1 overall player in California, number 8th ranked receiver in the 2021 class. And if there's a guy that I think can make an immediate impact as a true freshman outside of Jatavian Sanders, it's definitely going to be Xavier Worthy. Your thoughts on Xavier Worthy?
No, it just brings depth to an already, a position where we know we have potential. Like I said, with Jordan Whittington, Jake Smith, Troy O'Meara, Josh Moore. Now, Xavier Worthy, we're already hearing great things about how he's producing in summer camp and making plays. Speed. Like you said, Sarkisian looks for an opportunity to create mismatches, and how does he do that with speed? And that's this man's number 1 trait. His quick burst, I watch his film, catches the ball on a tunnel screen, and immediately upon reception of the football is turning downhill and at top speed within the first 10 yards of catching the football. So, like you say, put him in areas where he can wide up in space with blockers in front, let him make people miss and hit that top end burst. Similar to the next guy we're going to talk about, and that's Keilan Robinson, running back from Alabama.
Yeah. Keilan Robinson, running back, 5'9", 184 pounds, out of St. John's in the D.C. area. Last stop was Alabama. I know he took off, he opted out of the last, out of the 2020. I know they were expecting big things from him there in Alabama. I think his versatility as a running back, slot wide receiver, and really kick returner. I know we had talked about on previous podcasts, and I think in one of our lives we talked about Jameson and Robinson being up there, man. But it just adds that needed depth to a really running back room that you feel real comfortable with Bijan Robinson and obviously Roschon Johnson and Brooks coming in as a true freshman, and then another transfer, and it just, the list goes on and on. I think you got 6 capable backs currently on in that running back room. But just again, speed, man. The good thing to me is that really Sarkisian knows who he is as a player. I don't think he would have brought him in if he didn't think he would add some needed depth to that position. Your thoughts on Keilan Robinson? No,
in watching this film, his strengths are speed, that burst that we just talked about. He's elusive, makes people miss. An excellent pass catcher out of the backfield with great vision. So he has all the necessary components to be a great back. One knock on him is a strength, but I'm hearing that he put on 20 pounds of muscle in the offseason, so trying to get a little bit bigger. The one thing about Keilan Robinson is he comes with a lot of rubber on his tires. He only had 39 carries for 254 yards, so only 40 carries at Alabama. Like you said, he took last year off. So a lot of rubber on the tires. It's like you're getting a full 3 years of eligibility from a young man who came out in Bijan Robinson's class and was a top 50 player in the country, the number 15 running back. So excellent speed, excellent burst, elusiveness, vision, and you're getting him for 3 years. Again, like you said, pretty deep running back room. When you're talking about him, Roschon, Daniel Young, Gabe Watson, Jonathan Brooks, and the list just goes on and on and on with how talented and deep that running back room could get. But again, we talked about it in the last podcast. That 53-man roster, you can't have – your weakest link has to be as strong as somebody else's, you know what I mean? So you're looking to create depth for that 53, and that's what they're doing by bringing in this kid. Like you said, Steve Sarkisian already has a relationship with him and knows him, what he can do for the football team.
Yeah, it's funny because I was actually had 53 man roster. That's kind of the way I was going to close this out. This podcast out was really with the 53 man roster. Really, the transfer portal at this particular point has created a situation where you can, like I said at the beginning of this, you can fill depth, you can fill positions of need, create depth, create that competition, and try to make your roster as good as possible outside of just recruiting. I know there are some concerns with the transfer portal. One of them being too many transfers in the portal and places for them to land. But also at this particular point with the one-time transfer, how does it really create a situation for the high school football players that are coming out? Because you got to think about it with you as you pull out a transfer, you have a reduction in scholarships you're able to give out to another high school player. So I think it's one of these things where you kind of figure out what you're looking for from a development standpoint as a coach. Head coach, offensive coach, defensive coach, do you want to get guys that are at other programs you can get that have 3 years of eligibility, or you want to get that guy that's out of high school that has 4 or 5 years of eligibility and you're willing to wait and develop them? And I think that's just kind of figuring out what you have as far as depth each and every year and how you want to kind of go with that, man. But it's going to be a mismatch of transfer portal guys and recruiting moving forward, man. But we appreciate you listening to this podcast as always. If you like the comment, please hit that like button. If you have not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. Tell us who the biggest impact player you think out of the transfers are this year. I'd like to know your comments in the comment section. So we appreciate you listening as always. You can find us on Twitter at TX Football Talk, on Facebook at TX Football Talk, and on Instagram at TX Football Talk. And as always, have a wonderful day and welcome.